I got shoes. Yeah. All my children too. Everything is gonna be alright. I know it will. Be alright. Oh, yeah.
As long as I got shoes to put on my feet.
Hey.
What's up now, Chip?
Welcome back. What up, Z?
What's up now, Chip? Feeling myself a little bit.
Episode of the Sabbath Morning Show. What episode number are we on?
17, brother.
17. Man.
It was all a dream. And then we hit 17. You like the bars?
I do. Welcome back to another Sabbath Morning Show. I am your host, Chuck.
That's Chuck.
See, I was ready. I knew it. That's the co-host, Zig. Uh-oh. Think you got too excited. Mute yourself, bro. Got too excited. Look at that. He's excited for the morning show. We are excited to have you here with us. We have a lot to talk about while my illustrious host gets his technical difficulties there together. See, still not together, man. We got a lot to talk about today. We got everything ranging from the elections. I know y'all tired. I'm tired, but listen, we getting there. It's going to be over soon. We got the Dreamer Act that's back in the news. We want to talk to you about that, what that means to us as Christians. And we also have, of course, a new sermon series. You won't want to miss that. We should be having a special guest come talk to us about it toward the end of the show. And we have other topics between now and then. So stick around for the ride. But first, Brother Zig, now that you have the connection to audio, please connect us to God. Go ahead and bless us with a prayer.
Oh, Heavenly Father, God of Abraham and Isaac, Lord, be with us. Help us. Amen. Because don't we need some help? I need some help.
We all need some help.
I need the kind of help he gave Abraham and
Isaac. Definitely shout out to our listeners and watchers out there. We see y'all. We appreciate y'all. And we love for you to be a part of the conversation. So feel free to drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts as we dive into it. Electoral votes.
We still here, bro?
We still here.
Apparently. So it's still going on. I don't know if you knew that.
I heard about it a little bit.
And I think maybe the administration been listening to some Diddy. Can't stop, won't stop. They said we is in it to win it. And my name ain't Bennett.
What up, love? What up, Rich? Appreciate you watching the show.
So yeah, man. This we still dealing with this. They meet on the 14th, right?
They meet on the 14th, but December is actually a smaller milestone. This safe harbor deadline is the 8th.
What's that?
The safe harbor deadline is the last date to put in basically your right to say that there was some fraudulent activity. So we shouldn't see Giuliani anymore.
Hey, but you know what? Speaking of Giuliani, he was in Michigan this week.
Oh, he was?
Oh, yeah. He was in Michigan, and he had and it's funny how people, I think the media has definitely been challenged over the last couple of years. Like, I remember reading a couple articles about like, how do we cover the truth without sounding biased, right? And so people are have been upset. It's like, well, you're just supposed to report the news and, let people decide for themselves. And I was like, is that really how it worked though? And so, so Giuliani was in Michigan and he had someone who allegedly worked for the Dominion voting system company, and they were. It was a show, bro.
Isn't it always?
It was a show, and Giuliani had a hot mic.
Well,
You know,
that's one way to put it.
he had a hot mic and ripped a couple while he was.
But I was more impressed that he kept going. Like, that's confidence.
He did. Listen, that's an old man who know he's embraced his old, except for that whole motor oil incident. But other than that, I feel like I just thought about my grandma. She would be in the store in line at the checkout, and all you would hear, brrr, and she would just keep moving. Matter of fact, I don't know if your wife told you yesterday.
Oh yeah, she did tell me about Danielle, man. She was lighting it up, man.
Listen, and I was like, "Hey, you okay?" Man, and then she goes, "It's just a fart, Uncle P. It's just a fart." And I was
exactly. It's just a fart, man. That's
okay.
That's all Giuliani was actually trying to do. He was just trying to normalize,
right? He's like,
that happening.
Right. Dear said they out there singing "Let It Go, Let It Go, Let It Go." So it's
supposed to be coming to an end. We got the safe harbor deadline, so we won't see any more.
But even
craziness.
his witness, she embodied that Giuliani that we used to. So Giuliani, he was saying something, but she got up there, bro, and this lady, I think she might have been inebriated or something.
She was passionate to the point where she wasn't maybe.
Bro, she looked a little disheveled, like her hair was all over the place, and then she was like talking back to the senators. I was like, what is happening? She was like, I signed something that said if I'm lying, I go to prison. Did you sign something?
She feels that she's right, man. She feels that she's right.
Listen, she went so hard. Giuliani had to tell her to calm down. She
was brought that passion, man. She wanted people to know that she felt wrong, and it's her. They have rights, and those rights end December 8th.
Yeah, right.
But then, and you know what's funny? I remember, shout out to my pops being a history teacher and whatnot. I remember him talking about like the process isn't over technically when we vote in November, right? There's a bunch of different milestones, but usually the president concedes that night, so everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's done." But this time we're gonna go through the full process publicly, and we're gonna see all of it. But because there's the safe harbor, there's the actual electoral vote on the 14th, and then it still has to be certified. What's the word I'm looking for? Maybe it's not certified, but ratified, basically.
Ratified, yeah.
By January 6th is when it's going to happen. There's going to be a joint session with Congress where they read all the certificates and cast by the electoral votes, and then if there's no objections to any certificate writing, then the Senate president officially certifies the election.
Listen, bro, this we in for the long haul on this one.
Read these comments when Johnny has to call you down. Someone please call Barack. Yo, Barack got him pretty good though. But yeah, man, it's a whole process. So what are we supposed to do for now as Christians in this meantime while we actually watch this circus, as it were?
Besides pray. We talked about this before, where the Bible actually gave us a really good lesson on how to address this stuff. And I think that was in was it 2 Timothy? Right. 2 Timothy, where it told us how during this time people will do these things, right? The Bible tells us that, people will become lovers of themselves. And, so I think it's important to just focus on God's words, do his will. And for those people who are, that's what really gets to me, right? The Christians. Bro. And I'm like,
But
right?
what
So
about what are the Christians doing?
whatever,
Let us know.
because it's
What are we
there, right?
doing
So it's
out
like
here?
put your mind on whatsoever is true, right? I think that's in there.
There's somewhere in there.
I think that's in there. And so for the simple fact that people who have, and again in Second Timothy, I think it breaks it down real like raw, where it's like people will turn away from the truth.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I think too that's related to that is finally when this election is over, what are we going to do to move on as a church, right?
Yep. Because
there's a lot to do, and as D Rich is saying, there's a lot of people who are basically being lovers of themselves during this time, and they're putting party basically above the church. And although it says it's neither Jew or Gentile, poor or slave, maybe the election edition needs to say there's neither Republican nor Democrat. We are all one in Jesus Christ.
Right. Which is, again, I tend to, I was talking to somebody at work today. And you're absolutely right, because the fact that I didn't necessarily, I want to say, take a side, right? Mm-hmm. So this guy at work caused the scene. At work, at a federal building, no less. And I was just kind of like, hey, man. And he was like, hey, I haven't seen him in a while. I was like, yeah, I said, things are okay. We finally out of this election stuff. And his response was, but are we? And I was like, it's over. I thought he was like, nah, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. And I was like, and he kept talking, and the conversation got to a place that was super weird and uncomfortable for me, brother, because this dude actually said, well, everybody's blaming Trump for COVID. This all started with Obama. And I was like, what? This started with Obama. And he's like, COVID won. So I was like, I don't think that's how that worked, brother. So, I think people have their various reasons for voting for who they voted for, but I think you're absolutely right. To allow this
to divide the church,
because there is a lot of division in church. We talked about the Kenneth Copeland thing, and it's funny. I think it's funny to sensible-minded people. And then for people who are extreme, either on one side or the other, they're either upset about it or they're like chanting it on, right? And so it's
laughing
like,
with them.
It's like, bro, but again, like that's why it was so real when I read Second Timothy. Like, this is amazing because the Bible tells you specifically, like, people will turn away from the truth. And they will want to listen to things that tickle it. Like, that was funny that the Amplified. I got to big up the Amplified. It says that people will, turn to myth and fiction, and it's like, yo.
Yeah, I mean, people are putting their will, as the comment says here, above the will of God, and forcing their their interpretation on what's happening, that God's going to overturn this and this is what's going to happen. There's still people out there saying that, but ultimately, it's like you said, we got to trust in the whole truth of the Bible.
I will trust in the Lord till I die.
But yeah, man, it's tough. I think, especially to be fair, if you've put and that's part of the problem, if you put your hopes and your dreams in Trump and think that that's the best thing to do, and not keeping your faith and hope in God, it's you're going to be disappointed every time when you put your hope in man. So
yeah, you got to put my trust in the Lord. Like, my kids was listening to VeggieTales the other day. Said God is bigger than the boogeyman, and we got to believe that God is bigger than these elections. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and God is also bigger than your autofocus, man. You
Hey, I'm trying to give you an experience.
I see that. It's like a stereoscopic vision over there. So what else we got, man? We got the elections. I know everyone's tired of that, so let's talk about something else. What we got?
Well, unfortunately, we still got let's not talk about some. So we got the deferred action. What is it called? DACA, deferred
DACA.
action.
Uh-oh. 2
What's
points
the
for anybody that can name it in the comments.
In the
name
comments.
Name it. What's DACA stand for?
What does DACA stand for?
We'll wait. This is everyone currently Googling on their phone.
Right.
Like, what does DACA stand for?
DACA. We ain't got nothing?
Nope.
Oh, nothing. All right. So DACA.
DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
So basically, for you to folks that don't know, the Obama administration did not think that children who were brought over under a certain age should be penalized that they were undocumented, right? And so
no, it's not what you say when you when you win in dominoes. That's not DACA.
So the current administration put in place this guy. Well, actually, I think either the guy quit or he got fired, one of the two.
Mm-hmm,
and then the administration installed somebody who basically overturned it.
mm-hmm.
And then this week, a federal judge said, "Nah, one," and he hit him hard. One, he said, "Put DACA back in. The way you did it was wrong." And two, the guy you put in there was put in there illegally, so he got to go, and your rules got to go.
Right.
And ordered for the administration to immediately start to process new applications, not just keep up with the old ones, but it was like start processing new ones. So I thought that was interesting. And I know there are a lot of people who were focused on the original DACA group, but I definitely can see people who are against immigration having a problem with new applications being processed.
Right. And I think that's part of the discussion is basically the people who I'll say are against it, or at least have concerns about it, look at it as just general amnesty, right?
Right.
And their kind of point is that although, yes, these kids, didn't come over here necessarily on their own, free will, there are those who came unaccompanied by themselves and illegally entered the country. And they're like, there's a way to enter a country legally. And basically you're awarding those who entered illegally to stay. And for them, they see this as a precedent that, oh, well, maybe in the future someday we'll let adults do the same thing.
Yeah, I when people make those kind of arguments where they like just go reach, it makes it really hard to take it serious, But I think it's a really good. I think it's an interesting. I mean, although the most famous immigrant of all, Jesus Christ. Huh?
Yeah. A lot of we'll be talking about that story this season.
You know what I'm saying? This is that season. He was on his pilgrimage, right?
Right.
And he was what do they call him? One of them large group caravan. He was in the caravan. That ain't gymnastics. True. That's truth, brother. That's a straight dash to the finish line.
But I think. And what's interesting, though, actually, there are a lot of Christians who support DACA, right? There's a lot of people who support the Dreamers who have come. There's both evangelicals and Catholics. There's actually a lot of Christians who support it, and were actually upset when it was taken down temporarily or illegally, as it were, according to the judge.
Because a lot of people, I know there were a lot of Christians who saw this as like part of the what we should be doing, right? When Jesus said, unto the least of these, right? And so they saw that as part of their ministry, their mission. And this is what I'm not sure what the Adventist Church's stance is on this.
Well, I don't know if they make an official stance on every issue,
right. But this was big enough that because what I know in my mind, what I saw was, wow, here's a great opportunity for the church to like minister to people and to do to do good. And in my mind, I'm like waiting for our church to sponsor somebody. And it didn't happen. I was like, oh.
Well, in general, the church it seems that they don't always take that initial quick stance. It's like after they're kind of after a long period of time, they kind of just observe, and then
let's scope this out.
Yeah, they do a lot more of a distancing, from those type of things. And it's it is ironic, Michelle was saying, a country of immigrants denying immigrants. And it's like, listen,
right.
We've reached our max. There's no more unless you're born here.
Right.
We don't want you, right? And there isn't, and there was a confirmation in the comments. There's no official word from the church on this, and maybe that is a statement in of itself. But I think like you were talking about, the Bible touches on that. That we shouldn't oppress aliens. When God was talking to the children of Israel in Exodus, that we shouldn't oppress aliens because they were aliens, right, in Egypt.
Yep.
And there's principles of that, during actually the stories of the Old Testament. And actually the Sabbath of itself is an immigrant witnessing experience. Because did you know that where Israel was located, and D. Rich knows where I'm going with this problem, that a lot of people would travel through Israel, right? It was like a passage. So back then, there's no cars. It took a lot of days to travel. So while people were traveling through the nation of Israel, they would be able to experience the Sabbath as immigrants and see God's people over a long period of time and experience, the blessing of Israel. And so immigration is and could be and has been in the past a witnessing tool.
Man,
that came full circle. You like that? I brought it all back. It's all connected. The Bible, one story connected.
That's one of them boomerang sermons. Like I don't know where you're going with this.
Exactly. You just gotta wait for it.
Can he land the plane?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what would make it a land of milk and honey. Indeed. We don't have milk and honey here, though.
I mean, what do you mean? Where?
In the U.S. It's not. We got other stuff, but maybe that's the thing. We don't want to share our milk and honey.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the arguments of like having a rules-based system, but I think even the system itself isn't comprehensive enough to support what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I am also aware of the pushback against the illegal immigrants, because we know people, you and I know people who it took them years to legally immigrate. They had to wait to actually enter the state. So I get it. Like this guy over here who's been waiting for years shouldn't, have to continue waiting because his other kid illegally, entered.
True.
Uh-oh. Richard, are you a legal alien? We need to... Where's ICE? ICE.
That's why he said we need to sponsor somebody who's is that somebody you, sir?
Exactly.
In the words of Aaliyah, are you that somebody?
Right. We got some good comments here. Michelle leaving she found the statement. Good job, Michelle.
Oh, okay. Let's see. It says, we pray for wisdom and understanding for U.S. leaders as they seek a resolution or solutions. And we pray that the solution will be imbued with God's grace and mercy. We pray that the dreamers feel the hand of God leading them forward in the love of their brothers and sisters in Christ. We as the church will continue to pray and support all those who dream of a better life.
Boom. There you go.
That sounds like thoughts and prayers.
Lots of thoughts and prayers to those.
That's what that sounds like. Thoughts and prayers. A lot of people is really getting upset with thoughts and prayers.
Well, yeah, because they want more than just thoughts and prayers, right? They want to see action. Yeah.
And so I know my wife does this when she speaks at churches. One of her taglines is, we have to pray and ... Right.
Yeah.
And so, God has given us all these gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you have and someone doesn't have, in the situation, it's that situation of our country having, and you have these other people in need, then that's, hiding your gift under a bushel.
Well, I mean, and that's actually a good segue to our second favorite topic of the show, COVID. But actually, the reason I bring it up is that Oakwood University Church talked about doing more than just praying. They've been doing COVID testing at their local in their local area, so providing COVID tests to the neighborhood so people can see if they have COVID and be able to
That's what's up.
To do accordingly.
That's what's up. Shout out to Oakwood
doing stuff for the community amongst this during these times of COVID. So what's the latest on COVID, right? What's happening with that?
Still growing, bro. Still growing. Still 14 million cases. And the number of recovered is getting away from, it used to be like a 50-50 split almost. Or at least it was the last couple of weeks. But I think the holidays have been picking it up. So 6.9 million recovered with 282 fatal cases. So the recovery rates is good. I know my hospital system is doing some, they were approved to provide some experimental treatments. And so there are some good things coming out there. In addition to that, the vaccine is ready.
Uh-oh. Is it? Is it? Don't lie to me, Z.
Listen, I can only tell you, I can only report the news. But the vaccine, so the numbers did change. So initially they were projecting to only have 40 million by the end of the year. Well, that number now is like cut in half. So the thing to think about too is like when they talk about how many vaccines will be available, you have to split that number in half because you have to take the dose twice. And so if they only make 100, that means only 50 people get it. And so
sorry, I was chuckling over here because I'm saying if we test less, we'll have less cases. Think about it.
So yeah, that guy. So that's the kind of stuff that make you go, you like, because no, listen, I heard I actually had a nurse say that at work.
Oh, really? That if we test less, we would have less cases.
And she was like, the problem is because we had to shut down one of our units somewhere else, and so I was calling to see what their status was, and she was like, "Nope, we're on shutdown right now because we had a bunch of people test positive." And I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "I was like, man, we gotta do something about this." She was like, "You're right. Thing we gotta do is stop testing." And I was like, "Whoa, wait, what?"
That's the opposite of what we want to do.
He was like, "Yeah, the more we test, the more positives we're gonna have." And I was like, but what about the people that show up
right
that wasn't tested? So
gotta love that logic.
Yeah. And so so at the end of the year, I think that number, I don't know what the number's been cut to, but it's less than half of the 40 million that they thought they was gonna get. So the this rollout is going to take a lot longer. I think people are now starting to speak more freely. Now that there's this apparent change of the guard, and so for them to speak freely also means that they're kind of being factual, because like you said, right? Somebody said that we would have a cure by the day after the election, and
not so much. And so, but the other part of that is what are people going to do with this vaccine? Let us know in the comments if you're going to take this vaccine. I know there is a lot of controversy over vaccines. I mean, this country has not always had the best history of vaccines and testing.
That's true.
Going all the way back to the Tuskegee experiment, and even the I'm listen, I know people are like, that's just jumping to conclusions, you're being a conspiracy. This is what actual people think. I'm not saying
Really?
it's true.
What people?
Yes.
What people? I heard you got a couple text messages about it.
Listen.
Really? Is that a shout out?
There's a shout out to those who are free thinkers, Pernell. Free thinkers.
Listen, you absolutely, I mean, definitely right that the country, but is this the mark of the beast? Is that what
I think that's a stretch, but that's
what people are saying in the streets? This is the mark of the beast.
they're gonna insert a chip inside with that. No, but not to mock people too much here, but there are some like you said extremes, like we were talking about with the Kenneth Copeland and that. But there are people who are trying to be educated. I mean, there's even in the comments we're seeing people who are saying reasonable things, like they want to see the long-term study effects first before they take it. They don't want to be first in line. People don't necessarily want to volunteer to take the shot and see what happens.
So here's the
interesting
thing. So the interesting thing is, that I know they talked about, somebody had said something similar about, they're gonna try to give it to the poor people first or the Black community first. Well, actually, no. The people who will get it first. So they did actually say this: the people who will get it first will be your first responders and all your hospital staff. And so the problem that is being created is, one, I think there's an information gap because how vaccines are created, and what we need to do to do trials. They have submitted it to the FDA. So initially they were pushing it through without FDA support. So I was like, I don't know about that. But here's the issue with the FDA too, is that the FDA doesn't have they have their own research department, but they depend more on the person submitting it than they do the group that's actually they don't do independent research at that much. Right. And I think that's a problem. And so it's kind of like, so when you look at certain foods that go through the FDA, and then when somebody does like an independent research and be like, man, you mean tell me I can have 4 roaches in my Raisin Brands and it's okay?
Right. And that's I think that's part of it, right? People there's a definite distrust, and it's reasonable, right? I mean, there's been situations like D. Rich is mentioning that have happened, in our country's history. And even, I think I read, it seems that only 78% of 30 to 49-year-olds support a vaccine requirement for school children. So there's definitely a lot of concern, for how this vaccine is coming about, and just vaccines in general, right? There's, questions about its linked to autism, the use of fetal tissue and development of vaccines. Those are, I think questions that people have when, considering this COVID vaccine that's, very new and very, it comes at a time when there's a lot of uncertainty, You don't think it does? It's true, right now.
Listen, a lot of. So I am definitely one of those people. Like So there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand. I understand that I don't understand a lot of stuff, right? And so like my homie Steve will say, you know what? I'll just wait till I get to heaven to find out. Right. So a lot of these questions ain't really worth asking in my. So I'm like, when people start to go down certain rabbit holes, I'll be like, yo, Jesus will tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, people don't want to take stuff that's going to harm them, right?
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think the
So are you taking one? That's what I want to say. Listen, are you going to take one?
So the way that it's looking, I would have to get some type of clearance not to get it. Because this year hospitals mandated that people got flu shots. Like it was like you gonna lose your job if you don't get a flu shot. Like it was that serious. And so it's getting real. Like like they was submitting people's name for suspension. I was like, yo, it's.
And so they're gonna do that with the vaccine too.
They had a meeting this week, and I'll find out. I'll find out next week because apparently we are supposed to get some. I don't know how much with this new shortage report, but I don't know. Any other healthcare workers in the audience? I know my job is taking it super serious.
Well, even at my job, it's the question that's come up, but they've made no official decision on what they're going to do to force people. Because I mean, at my job, like we're required, of course, wear the face mask, even when we're at our desk by ourselves. There's, we got to wipe down and clean, vehicles that we touch and parts that we're interacting with. So I think this may be rolled out to different industries in various ways. So it's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, I know my wife was saying something about, just it sounds like the hot spots are like manufacturing industries.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even think about that. But then when I looked at it, it was like, yeah, like they get a lot of outbreaks. And it makes sense, right? Because you got a lot of people working in a concentrated area on assembly lines and in these tight spaces. And so I'm like, so I would hope that, again, right, that it be offered to people who are at most risk. But then you have so many people who are skeptics. Like I think that is going to, combat the, the good efforts to putting a stop to this thing.
Yeah. So we'll see. We will see.
We will see. I mean, will I take it? I'm still on the fence on my thing about COVID in general is I agree with somebody said that we don't like, I want to see long-term data. Like we don't even have long-term data on COVID itself.
No, not at all.
And so what will it do? You have all these people who are developing symptoms even after they're done, even after they're recovered, they're having different symptoms. They have, what is it called? I don't know if we have a healthcare worker in the audience, but when your heart wall thickens, I'm having athletes are seeing that. There's some long-term effects for the lungs that they're thinking about. I know in my hospital, we had a guy who recovered, but then he had this inflammation that they don't really have a name for. So they just call it post-COVID inflammation. And so it's, and then the military, if you got COVID, if you've had it, they are barring you from enlisting. I don't know if they changed that, but the last I checked, they like, not here, son. Don't bring that over here.
Really? That's interesting.
Because again, they don't know the long-term effects. And so if you end up developing a heart condition as a result of contracting COVID-19 when you were, 20 years old, will the military be responsible for whatever heart condition you have when you leave? Like that's one way to look at it. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of questions. It's unfortunate that we weren't able to kind of work on this. Like the country wasn't able to unify. Like somebody talking about anti-maskers and it's just like the simple things. Like at minimum, like just wear a mask.
Well, even at churches, we're not necessarily unified. There's not even the same consistency between churches, even in the same state, even amongst Adventist churches. Like there's some churches have shut down, right? Our church shut down. Other churches, they don't even make people wear masks once they sit down in the sanctuary.
Yep. I talked to somebody this week who said their church never shut down. He said, we've had in-person service this whole time. Can't nobody tell us to stop. And I was like, oh, I guess. Yeah. I guess. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of different, views on that. So definitely it seems like it's going to be something that's going to be lingering within the church, it seems, and we're going to have to deal with it and look for ways to still minister in these times.
And I think that's the biggest thing. We talked about, even how we talk with Chaplain Bigger, right? Right. Like, how do we continue to bridge the gap, right? And I think it's part of the thing that we've been saying all along is that, you know, one of the takeaways that we want to give people is that you are the church,
Right.
right? This is the church is not the building. And I think I definitely offended a pastor this week.
Uh-oh.
It
What'd
was
you
the
do?
same-
What'd
it was-
you do?
I wasn't talking about his pants, but this pastor had said that, you know, it's the same pastor who said that they had continued to go to church. And he was trying to be politically correct and not really give off his views, and I respect that. And you know, but I started to say, you know, just that, you know, I think it's interesting that people put so much focus on the building when the Bible is pretty clear about us being the church and us being the Jesus that people need to see. And man, he changed the topic so quick.
He said, not today.
And I get it. Like, some people don't want to, you know, have, but I don't think that's debatable, right? It's like that building, because if the building, who was that? Was that Pastor Taylor that said that? When he said it's probably better if we have corner stores and churches in some places.
Oh no, that was
what was that?
His old boyfriend. Yeah. Yep. So
yeah. So, you know, all this emphasis on these buildings, you know, and our church do it too.
It's true. It is true. So
we're gonna wait for the new ramp. We got to get another.
I don't want to talk about a ramp. Move it on. That was way too much of my time.
What about a dishwasher? Huh?
Get out of here. But I do want to come back to that ministry aspect that we were talking about. It's actually, I think, a good segue, but we'll save it toward the end. I think we have one more topic that we wanted to cover that happened in the news this week. That was the unemployment that's also affected by COVID. Yeah,
so it's all tied in, people. So you know, they have not. So the unemployment continues to go up and down. I'm not necessarily sure where I heard it about how many new cases were added, but total, you got 20 million people on the unemployment registry. This week's jobless claims, I think, reported that 250,000 new jobs were added. So they're definitely glad that some people are able to find some work. But we had about 20 million people unemployed. And then because they haven't passed the stimulus to support the unemployment roll, woo, brother, that sound like 3D audio, man. Somebody driving through your backyard?
Someone is driving pretty close.
So so 9 million people are going to lose their benefits the day after Christmas. Wow. If the Congress doesn't come together on a deal. So you got one side said we don't want to spend a lot of money on this. You got another side says we want to spend a lot of money on this. And you actually have a middle group who says, well, hey, let's combine the two. We'll meet you in the middle.
Sure.
So there's a bipartisan agreement, a GOP plan, and a Democratic plan. The GOP plan is only it's only 500 billion.
That sounds reasonable.
The bipartisan plan is 900 billion, and then the original Democratic plan was 2.2 trillion, and then they brought that down to like 1.7, 1.4, something like that. Now, the thing that people, I'm not sure if people keep up with this. I keep up with it, but the GOP plan and the bipartisan plan does not have that stimulus check. So if people are saying like, yeah, if one of them two passes, there's no stimulus check included in that. Only protections for small businesses and unemployed. And so which is interesting because the the Fed chairman, Jerome, he's a cool guy, man. Y'all should listen to him. Mr. Powell, Jerome Powell, I think his name. He's advocating, for a stimulus because he's saying like the economy is doing some weird stuff, and this week he said it's better to do more than you should for the economy than to do less, because we don't know, we can't pin our hopes on this vaccine.
Yeah, that I think we definitely can't pin our hopes on the vaccine, especially when there's people who aren't necessarily going to take it, and we still don't know if it's actually going to be effective. But to the point of the economy, it's definitely impacted a lot of people, and I think it's just exposed the amount of wealth gap that's in this country, and the amount of these industries that are really getting hit hard. Like you think about the restaurant industry and those service type industries that people are just trying to get by, and it COVID really impacted them. And I think most people, well, not even saying most, there's a lot of people who were not ready for the negative economic impacts that happened during this COVID pandemic. And I think there's two sides of that, right? There's definitely sympathy and empathy for that, but there's also the very hard lesson about being prepared for these seasons of drought, right? I mean, just the one immediate story that comes to mind from the Bible is on Joseph, right, where the Pharaoh has that dream about the years of plenty and the years of famine, and you got to take during those years of plenty, you got to save up and you got to try to prepare. But the problem, right, is do you make enough to do that? Do you have the means to actually save and prepare for these rainy days?
But here's the other problem, right? That was Pharaoh being a leader, right? Depending on the people who knew better than him, and the country working together as a collective. I'm pretty sure there were people who are upset about it, right? But the majority of the people work together. They all work together for the same cause. And going back to your point about do people make enough? Even if, this country is super odd about how it deals with poverty. And as a sociologist and social worker, I think I've always thought about these things and done research on them. So here's a fun fact.
Okay.
The Department of Agriculture is the place that sets what poverty is defined as.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
And so
the more you know.
Exactly. So this is interest. This has always been interesting to me, and it's also always been one of my my social work talking points, is how ignorant that is, because the Department of Agriculture bases poverty on how many calories you can afford. Let that sink in.
Houseway. I don't understand the connection. What does that mean? Break that down.
I need to do a little bit more research into it, because I've never quite figured out, like, why did they get to choose this? Like, why doesn't this fall under, Health and Human Services or the economic folks, right? But calories, right? So they determine poverty based on how many calories you can afford. And if you single, for you single folks out there, if you can afford $12,000 worth of calories, they figured out that's how much you need to eat. It doesn't factor in your rent, your car bills, taxes, none of that. All they're concerned about is how many calories you can afford. And as long as you got $12,000 a year coming in, guess what? You ain't poor.
Is that really the poverty line?
Yep. And so for a family of four, the poverty line is 26,000.
Wow.
It used to be 24.
So they gave us 2,000 extra.
There you go. So if you have a family of four, we got a family of four. And if you make more than $26,000 a year, you are not considered poverty. Now, some agencies do see the error with that. And so they'll say, if you're 50% above the poverty line, or, but some places are even a little more restrictive, and they'll say, "Oh, you need to be, 30% below the poverty line in order for us to help you." And in my mind, I'm like, when I worked alone, right, when it was just me and I was single, making like $28,000 a year, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was tight in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And to think that a family of 4 has to survive on something like that, is disheartening, and it's sad. And so that's why, I can see a lot of people saying, like, this was Andrew Yang, right, who said, we should be doing this every month just off of GP.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some, you can definitely try to solve it by printing money, but I think there has to be additional considerations. But I think from a church standpoint, we talk about, poverty. I think that's why it's always important that we have an active Dorcas fund and active, means to be able to help those, in need. There's again, shout out to Oakwood. They gave away, Thanksgiving meals to people, especially since, a lot of people weren't able to get to other families and houses where they could, get a good meal on Thanksgiving Day. It's those times that the church has to step in and try to, help, right? I mean, that's part of the mission of the church.
Absolutely.
I think, again, we tend to focus sometimes too much on just the theological needs of people, the spiritual needs of people. Oh, and shout out to the Pathfinders. That is true. The Pathfinders did give food out too. We'll be having the Motor City Pathfinder leader and Pontiac Pathfinder leader on the show next week, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that.
Woo-woo.
But yes, I think it's important for the church to, help those in need, and help those during this time where a lot of people, don't have the financial backing. And I think it's on top of that, it's not just enough to, help people out and with their physical needs and stuff, but it's also important to teach people how to be stewards of their money. And that means more than just, doing tithes and offering and giving. It's about setting up a budget, having reasonable financial goals, and understanding your money and understanding what you need to do to, be, you don't necessarily trying to be wealthy, but be able to live within your means.
Yeah. And I know even with that, I know that's a little controversial too, in some cases, the tithe system and how it's set up, and who it goes to, and who it goes to support. But, it does good. And I think there's just room for us to do. There's room for us to do more. I know there's room for me to do more. Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking of myself as a church, and I'm paying my tithes, there's room for me to do more. Right. Your time, your talent, and your tithe, those all 3 of those things go together. And I know being a social worker provides me with some talent. And so I know that means that, there's more for me to do. And so I'm blessed to have a child who has, 2 social work parents.
Right.
And she's making demands. Like, I want to, and she's like, she wants to put together baskets, and she wants to put together I forget what she said, like bags to give out to the homeless. And so that's what we're doing, right? And I'm not sure if I would have thought about that on my own.
Yeah, I mean, there was Giving Tuesday this past week. I hope y'all didn't forget about that. That was this past week. I was blessed enough to be able to give, and I supported ADRA this year. They're one of my favorite organizations. Shout out to them. But there's always room for us to do more and support those in need.
Absolutely. Oh, what's up? We got somebody say they want to sponsor us. Yeah, we'll accept sponsorship.
Yes, you can definitely support this ministry.
Absolutely.
And, we will use it accordingly. It's not
free.
But yeah, man, I think this is a good quote that someone shared in the comments. This comes from Ministry of Healing, the whole gospel right here. Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good. He showed his sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, and won their confidence. Then he bade them follow me.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that is true. That is
Absolutely
100% true.
And I think maybe something, it's just, just thinking out loud.
Mhm.
If you all are aware of initiatives that are out there to support folks, then let us know, and we'll definitely promote that. I know our Pathfinder leader talked about the Giving Tree.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we'll get out there so we can promote that. And this is the season of giving, but we want to make sure that we continue that process. And so I think we'll definitely be using this platform to continue to promote ways to give back, and to pay it forward.
100% true. And speaking of that, we definitely want to put you on to some stuff that's happening. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. We definitely have go ahead. What you about to say?
No, I'm just looking at this helpdrich.com. Is
that? I don't think that's a legitimate site. I'm not.
I don't know, man. We need to vet that.
Yeah, I think we need to go on Snoops, make sure that that's a legitimate site. It could be, but it's worth the Googles. It is worth the check. Man. But definitely want to shout out those who listen to us on the podcast.
Shout out us.
a little bit. Shout out to those listening on the podcast, Sabbath Morning Show. New episodes are being posted. Got a little bit behind, but of course they are available on Facebook, and we will be adding some new clips to our Instagram. So you definitely want to check that out. Of course, we got some things happening around the country. I know that with COVID and with some of these churches being locked down, you are looking for things to do on Sabbath. Well, guess what? There's this thing called time zones, and you can check out other churches throughout the day.
What?
So shout out to the West Coast churches. I definitely like to peep them in the afternoons every once in a while. We got New Movement Church, Pastor Taylor, who was on our show before. He is having a Faith, Hope, and Love series. So you definitely want to shout that out. We also got in the Central Time Zone, Pastor D. Rich.
What?
Well, yes, sir.
I'll have me, man, on them flyers, bro.
In times like this, there is still hope. That's part of his sermon series that's going on. It's at 5 p.m. Central, so 6 p.m. Eastern. So you'll want to, of course, check that out. And then finally, we got I Saw the Little One. That sermon series kicks off today. In fact,
today, part one.
Part one. We have our.
I wonder what that's going to be about.
I don't know, man. Who knows? You have to keep them guessing, but you definitely want to stay tuned to that and check that out. We will be having a 4-part sermon series coming from our very own Pastor Ron, who I believe is trying to connect with us, but we'll see if he's able to join. He's probably on his mountaintop getting ready to get that hot fire word from the Lord. So we will wait for that message later today.
Coming soon. In about 30
and
minutes.
Then, with it, in about 30 minutes, exactly. With it being the Christmas season, there's a lot of music out.
A lot of music.
I don't know if you knew that. It's officially Christmas season.
And we haven't talked about music in a minute.
And we haven't. And
but
we want to know from
excited.
you. Oh, wait, that's not a Sabbath one, but Christmas music is always in my heart. From January to December, it's never a bad time to listen to Christmas music. And I do got some new Christmas music for you. This is just new music. This isn't just my favorite. This is just some of the new music that's coming out. Francesca, and I'm gonna chop up her name, I know terribly, Bastielli, but she is a Christian artist who, of course, had Giants and a lot of other Holy Spirit song, a lot of famous tracks out there. But she has a new Christmas album that is fire that I've been listening to on the way to work when I've been going a couple of times this week. I have enjoyed it. We also have For King and Country. They have a new Christmas album out.
I don't think I've ever listened to a complete album from them.
I've listened to selected tracks, and yes,
that's that contemporary stuff. Sometimes I don't know, but if that's your cup of tea, I know a lot of folks like that. It's not my cup of tea, obviously.
Sure.
Me being from the hood and all. Yay.
You have a different taste. You got different taste buds.
Okay, I'm waiting for mine for the next one for me. I think there's one in there.
There's I was just reading some comments. Shout out to those who know me. I've been listening to Christmas music, since since October, which is true. I got all my presets already saved in my car. I've been listening to them and been enjoying it. And then they got the Spotify playlist, so I can listen to it anytime I want to. But I think you were talking about something more like this. This is the 116 album, The Gift.
Hey.
It came out, I think last year, actually.
Last year.
But
that was last year's album.
Yeah, but it's still a good track.
A banger. It's still a banger.
I can listen to that album all the way.
All the way.
I definitely recommend it. And so maybe I'll be inspired to make a new Christmas playlist for y'all to check out. And let us know what songs that get you in the Christmas spirit, get you in thinking about the nativity and everything that it means to you. So definitely want to check that out.
I know my wife been listening to the Motown Christmas. It's basically I forget what it's
it's like a compilation of like the Supremes and
no.
No,
this one is new. And it has like a secular artist and a Christian artist paired on a lot of the tracks. Singing some of your Christmas singing. I thought you was gonna throw that one up.
I didn't hear about that one.
However, it's an imposter. I'm saying this I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to my wife. It's an imposter. That album is an imposter. The original Motown Christmas album featured the California Raisins and the Temptations. How many people remember that?
I do remember the Temptation. That's definitely one of my favorite albums. I didn't know they made a 2020 Christmas album. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not. It got Ty Tribbett on there. It got Chrisette Michele and Tasha Cobbs and Kim from Detroit. He on there singing the song. You got I think Neo and somebody else is on there.
So we'll have to get that on when we make the Christmas playlist. We'll have to definitely add it. So shout out.
We'll add it because we know everybody. It ain't just about us.
It's not about us. It's about you.
It ain't about
and
us.
I don't think that's a real Christmas song, D. Rich. January bills are coming. Don't play yourself.
Absolutely. But you know what I've been listening to, and I would absolutely encourage people. Listen, I've been listening to my man Swoop.
The Swoop. There it is.
Swoop loops.
12 dates of beats.
Listen, he went past it. He like on day 15, 16 now. And listen, he did a Christmas joint for you.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, I know you were liking that with the national anthem of Christmas, Mariah Carey.
that is the Christmas tune. But I think Pastor Ron is ready for us. I believe he is in the studio. Y'all ain't know we had a studio, did y'all? We got a studio. He is ready. He's getting his makeup put on. He's getting his. No, I'm not gonna. Let's get him on the show.
Did he have to jump? Hey.
Hey.
Welcome.
Good? It's been a minute since you've been on here, man. You gotta show. See, we weren't even gonna go there today. Look at you. We weren't even gonna go there.
Was you had a
Welcome to the
stretch?
show,
That's what
Pastor.
you were showing us that good stretch you got to get.
That's right. I sure had, you know.
That ain't a good look.
Man.
That ain't a good look.
What's up
So
with
happy
y'all,
to
man?
have you. On the show,
Good,
man.
man.
Not a whole bunch, man. So tell us, man. You just coming off of wrapping up the 7-part series on Revelation.
Yeah.
What do you hope for the listeners to have gained from that? If you could put it in one short summary.
Yeah. Chuck is like, what was it all for? Come on.
Exactly. Why'd you make us wait 7 weeks to hear the whole thing?
Exactly. Actually, it was 8.
It was 8. That's right.
Yeah,
my
that's
boy,
right.
my boy Purnell, man, Zig is on it because 7 churches, but we started off with an intro, right?
That's right.
So anyways, man, the whole premise was my hope from it ultimately was an opportunity for us to be encouraged by those letters. Jesus authored those letters to encourage the Christians at that time. And part of how he did that was highlighting some of their flaws, but ultimately admonishing them, uplifting them, letting them know that he reigns supreme. He's powerful, all powerful, and he's loving, he's forgiving. And me personally, if I do say so myself, the last sermon I really enjoyed because it ends with this visual of a door being open in heaven, and it's always open, and that's the door of salvation. And for me, that is the sort of the climax, the crux of the whole message is that he has opened that door, the Lion of Judah, the Lamb of God. And yeah, so and I love the fact that the message is in Revelation needs no borders or boundaries. It crosses all generations and eras and times and so on. So yeah, hopefully now that's what I wanted, but in my experience in 13 years of ministry, people get different other things that I never intended to. I've had people tell me stuff and I'm like, you got that in my sermon, you know? And they're like, yeah. And that just reminds me, it's not about me at all. It's about the Holy Spirit and God. So yeah, man, I hope people enjoyed it. I've gotten emails and texts and so on from people saying how much of a blessing it was and they didn't see it in that light and so on. So I am encouraged by that.
Oh yeah,
Well,
it was definitely a bop. That's what the kids say.
I don't know what that means.
But yeah, so you got a new sermon series that's happening. Tell us a little bit about that.
What you gonna do with this one?
Yeah, man, I saw the little one. Can I just say shout, because he's not going to do it. Shout out to Purnell and the team, man, for putting this amazing. In fact, all year round, absolutely, all year round, you guys have just been on point, and your graphics, your skills, man. You know, Purnell, I appreciate you. No matter what Candace tells me about you, you know, I man for who you are.
Hey, you're only as good as your last flyer.
Write that down. Quote that. But no, yeah. So, it is. If you were to go back to the flyer, you can actually see it. I just shared with Purnell and the team my idea. So it's basically angelic encounters with individuals around the birth of Jesus, and I just shared with Purnell who these characters are, and they're right there: Mary, Joseph, the shepherds in the fields, and the wise men. Trivia question: how many wise men were there?
We don't know. It doesn't say.
Right. That's we waiting for the sermon, so you can tell us.
And I forgot that Chuck, he's a seminarian. He's right. We don't know. We assume it was 3 because of the 3 gifts, but we don't know. It could have been 2. It could have been 20. We just don't know. But anyway, so I hope that in this 4-part series will lead us to the end of the year, that people are encouraged and maybe see these nativity stories in a new light. That's my hope. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We're definitely looking forward to, I love the Christmas season. So, I'm definitely looking forward to a nice Christmas sermon.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's going to be some turns in there people ain't going to expect.
Well, I hope so, man. I only share what I think God has shared with me, and I love sharing new things, at least new to me. It may not be new to y'all, but new to me, and I love to share it. And so I'm excited for that. Trivia question: when was Jesus born?
We don't know.
Not December 25th.
Right. Right.
Now you got to study. I ain't gonna give it away since I gave it last one, but you got to study the festivals, because if you look at what's happening during that time, you can kind of pinpoint it to a certain time.
See, look at Chuck, man. Look at Chuck.
But
Tell me in the comments. How many of you guys want to have Chuck lead his own series, his own sermon series?
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Say yes to the
No.
comments. Anyways,
I'm with it.
No, that's all, Pastor, man. I'm just the background.
you are a great speaker, but I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to jump in and see what the Lord does. Yeah.
And what are your plans for how? First of all, how was your holiday? This last one we just had.
Yeah, it was good, man. We just kept it small, simple with our family, and cooked up, a lot of good food, man. Mac and cheese, you know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
pumpkin pie. I missed
Pumpkin.
I know. Calm down. Calm down. I love pumpkin pie. You know what I'm saying? I love both. I love pumpkin and I love sweet potato.
I rebuke you.
And I block that rebuke. Do that. That's right.
Ah.
But I did miss my sweet potato pie from Sister Rawls, man. Woo, that thing is from the throne of God himself,
Yeah.
But it was good, man. We had a good time, and just like I said, low key with family. Really enjoyed it.
That's what's
Listen,
up, man. Well,
don't
I know
tell
you got to
Eric-
get back to the mountaintop. I know you. I see you with a fresh glow. Coming off the mountain.
It's the light that you bought me. So, but hey, whatever, man. Whatever floats the boat, Whatever convinces the people,
That's right. But we appreciate you stopping by, doing a drive by.
Yes,
Definitely, everyone
Yeah.
come check it out at 11, which is happening, I think, in 15
Absolutely.
minutes.
And by the way, can I just say, I've been listening to your podcast. I watch it on Saturday, but I also listen to it during the week. It's refreshing. It's unique. And I love it. So I've been sharing it with my friends. So please, guys, they're not going to do it. Maybe they did, but I'm going to do it. Subscribe. Go to wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to this show. I know when I listen to it, I walk away feeling we need more. But you guys are busy. But it's an amazing show. Kudos to you guys, man. Keep up the good work.
Well, we appreciate that praise and keep that same energy because we're probably going to go somewhere that people don't expect.
It's okay. Do people know I'm endorsed by the church? But anyways, man, I'm going to go get ready. I'm going to go get that vaccine and I'll be back.
Uh-oh.
Pray for me, church.
All right, man.
All right, y'all.
We'll see you in a bit.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, that was Pastor Ron Sidney, pastor of Detroit Center and Pontiac Southside.
Yes, sir. So definitely
bring that hot fire.
Yes. Don't forget to go check out that hot fire sermon that he is bringing today at 11. But the last note, I want to end on a good note as we wrap up the show. I don't know if Pernell, you were talking a lot about it today about the church is more than just a building, that it's more than just staying inside and preaching sermons. That being said, there was a very interesting thing that's been going on in Mexico. Mexico has been having this evangelistic series called Rescate 316. So it's been based off of the John 3:16. And unfortunately, I don't have any graphics from it, but they've been doing their sermon series since basically COVID happened. They had planned to start it before then, but when COVID happened, they had to readjust. And since then, they've been doing virtual. Pernell is frozen in prayer. He's praying for me to get through this last story. They've been doing virtual sermons and virtual evangelistic series for the last 6 months. And through their efforts, they have actually been able to baptize over 5,800 people. So I thought that was amazing that despite what's going on with COVID, they've been able to share the gospel and baptize so many people. And they've just been doing evangelistic series that are being held on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And it's just been a blessing to see the amount of work that they've been able to do despite COVID happening. So I say it all to say that the church is still working. The church is still moving. The church is still doing what we're supposed to do. They're putting in that work, baptizing over 5,000 800 people, man. So it's definitely newsworthy and something that I think we can all be proud of, because this is happening. This isn't just like some random church in Mexico. This is actually the Adventist Church in Mexico that's sponsoring this series. So it's definitely something that I hadn't heard of, and I definitely want to shout out to the Mexico Adventist Church for doing that. And it's basically, for those wondering what Rescate means, is Rescue 316. And that's been their ministry down in Mexico. So shout out to them for sharing God's word.
And doing the work.
Yes, sir. And as Candace said, his blood still works. So, and on that note, I think we can end the show, man. Now that you're back.
Think so.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like every time, like at this time, it's like
he has to drop off.
that's the countdown clock.
There you go. So don't fear the bad news.
Uh-oh.
You can do it.
Am I supposed to memorize this?
I believe in you. You can do it.
Let's see. Let me see. It's like a quiz, because you always catch me off guard. You be like, and on that note, and I'll be like, oh snap.
Pop quiz. What's our motto?
Yeah, let the people in the comments tell us. What is it?
Don't fear the bad news.
Don't fear the bad news. You know what? Matter of fact, from now on, I'm gonna say don't fear the bad news.
Keep your heart and mind focused.
What's the scripture? That's what I want to know.
Come on, man. We've been through this. You for real.
We've been through this. You're right. But I've been working on this adventure stuff. And this Eager Beaver. Ask me the Eager Beaver pledge. I know that.
I know the Pathfinder pledge too.
Ask me the Eager Beaver song. I can sing you the Eager Beaver song. It's like the glass, man. I pour too much in. It's like, come out. Yeah. So let's try this again. Don't fear the bad news.
Keep your heart and mind focused.
and yeah.
What always trust in the Lord. There you go.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
I see what you're doing. You just quizzing me. You want to know if I knew what you knew. Absolutely, bro. That's what I said. That's what I said. And boom, look at that. See, shout out to my wife. She knew it. She knew it. Thank you. She wrote it. We better know it. All right, y'all. It's been a blessing. We appreciate y'all. We are the Eager Beavers. Oh my gosh. Eager Beavers for the Lord. Help us sing a song. Everybody come along. Eager Beavers for the Lord. We're on our way to heaven. Are you done? Come aboard. Yes, we are the Eager Beavers. Eager Beavers for the Lord. Shout out to Zoe. And on that note, shout out to the Eager Beavers. That's the end of our show. Y'all be blessed. I'm doing the work.